You two, I'm actually serious. We need to get through this, so let's go ahead and get started.
Sex. None of us would be here without it, but we're all afraid of it, and we don't know how to do it.
Okay. Hey, Marie.
Is the orgasm real?
It is, and this is not part of what we're covering.
So, welcome back to my channel. This is going to be the season finale of Shrill, season 2, episode 8, HR. Okay, so on the heels of their whole situation with Annie and Ryan in the server room and everyone finding out about it, it was deemed necessary to have a meeting about appropriate and inappropriate behavior in the office. Okay, so they're having a staff meeting. Amadi is leading the meeting, and yeah, it's his job to have this meeting. And so as you saw in the beginning, which I thought was so funny, he was like, okay, so Maureen stands up with this huge ass bind and throws it on the chair, and you saw the whole situation with her. So eventually Amadi throws out a scenario. He reads an example in this thick ass binder. And so, of course, people are joking around, and like it was about a guy inappropriately touching a woman, and him answering the question was how was that inappropriate, and so people are like, you know what, I really can't connect with the female character. They're just acting the damn fool, just moving like children who don't really want to be there, and nobody really wants to do it. So Gabe throws in, and Marty was like, okay, Gabe, well, you have to be here as well. And Gabe kind of looked around, and he was like, you know what, I'll pass. So he went on past and went in his office, and Ruthie and her crazy behind. Who was it at this point? Did Ryan? No, Ryan hadn't said anything at this point. But Ruthie was like, well, I don't want to say anything because I don't want Annie to come on to me. And so it was like, okay, completely. Everybody's like, okay, that's completely inappropriate. And so Ryan turns around and is like, okay, it's my fault for asking Annie to have sex with me. Now at this point, not everybody in the office knew, and so but he blurts out, it was my fault. I asked her to have sex with me in the office, and I forced her to do it. And he was like, oh, okay, wait a minute. So of course now Annie has to stand up and say, no, I wasn't forced. It was consensual. He's like, he has no self-awareness. He's just that devoid of common sense. So so now she's embarrassed all over again because now everybody in the office knows that it was them. So Amadi finally decides that they're not going to settle down and they're not going to sit through this big ass binder that he said they had to go through from cover to cover. So he said, you know what, I'm just going to leave the binder up here and you guys can read it if you want. So that was the end of that. So Amadi is now outside. So as they're leaving the meeting, Ryan pulls Annie to the side, and he was like, you know what, I'm really sorry. She was, and just like, why would you do that again? Like, this is ridiculous. And he said, I'm sorry for what I did. He has his damn backpack again. Damn phone. He has his damn backpack again. It was like, I have a gift for you. So he pulls out this pillow. She was like, okay, a pillow. He's like, yeah, you remember how you were always complaining about me not having an extra pillow at my place, but we haven't seen Annie at your place in a while. You seem to be spending more time at her place, so what's the point of buying a pillow now? Anywho, she's like, okay, given the meeting we just had, you don't think that it's inappropriate that you gave me a pillow? Like, what am I supposed to do, walk around the office with this damn pillow all day? And he's like, well, I'm sorry, I just want us to talk about it and make, like, again, no self-awareness, no common sense. So she goes outside and talks to Amadi, and she apologized, like, I'm really sorry for causing this whole thing. And he was like, you know what, don't even worry about it. And he started talking about the job. He's like, I really like my position. I like being a manager. I like being in the thick of things, so I'm able to make changes. So he actually enjoyed his position. So Ruthie comes up, and then of course again she has to be inappropriate, and she says to him, I hope that you're not Well, she said, I hope you're not, if you're giving hand jobs, I want you to know that the police are always through here, so you should probably take that into consideration. Again, the mind is like, that is completely inappropriate. And then she gives Annie a message. Sheila called and she wanted to meet with Annie for lunch. And so, of course, she's giddy. This is her boss's boss, so she wants to meet with her. Let's see what this is all about. So around this time, Fran is still talking about throwing this party. And so her neighbor is saying that if it gets out of hand, I'm going to call the police. And so Fran was like, okay, did you call the police when so-and-so's party was loud and disturbing? Did you call when these people were? She was like, I wonder what's the issue now? And she was like, are you trying to say that I'm racist? And so, and it was like, I don't know, are you racist? And so the woman walked away. She left that shit alone. And so Emily is like helping her. She was like, I want this to be a party to kind of celebrate my single, me being single. And Emily was like, okay, so this is all about you celebrating your being single and depending on what. And she was like, well, yeah. So they had a little back and forth. You could see Emily's face kind of like, And so she had some chairs in her hand. She said she was talking to Fran. Are you going to hell? Fran was like, no. She's like, oh, okay. Just wanted to ask. Annie meets with Sheila for lunch, and Sheila, she was pointing to some hotel. She was like, that's the 50 Shades Hotel. That's where he screwed Anastasia. Was her name Anastasia? Whatever. And so she's like, oh, okay. She was like, I've, been thinking a lot about Amadi and Gabe, and, I have some decisions to make. And she said, so what do you think about, them? And she was like, Amadi loves his job, and at least that's what he told me. But of course, she would need to talk to him. But I think he was just telling me as a friend. And she was like, okay, so what's going on with Gabe? And she was like, well, Gabe is good. At what he does, for sure. But, I'm just, just been thinking about, the future. And so who pops up? Gabe. So Ruthie eventually tells Gabe about the meeting. So he shows up like, oh, well, hi, how you guys doing? Ruthie told me about the meeting, but I just wanted to stop by to see how how everything was going. And then of course he tells Annie, like, I read your article and it was amazing. So he's raving about her article now. And she's all taken by surprise, like, oh, okay, well, thank you. So while this is going on, no, she said, well, thank you. And so Sheila was like, you don't need to thank him. You wrote it. And so I'm like, oh, what is going on with them? Okay. And so while that back and forth was going on, Annie receives a call from her mom, and she rushes out, and the parents like, if something going on with my family, I have to go. And so Gabe sits down, and she was like, well, since you're here, let's eat. And so he was like, what's going on? And she was like, well, talking to Annie gave me a lot to think about. And he was like, Annie. She was like, And she was like, that. So she kind of changed something. That's the 50 Shades hotel. And he's just looking at her like, so what's going on here? So Annie arrives at the hospital. She's trying to get instructions on how to get to her father's room. It was just a maze from elevator to corridor to our laundry room. It was just crazy. So she finally gets to the room, and she's scared to death because she don't know what happened. And so they tell her that the medicine that he's been on has made him constipated, and he hadn't used the bathroom in 10 days. Oh my God. And so he had a moment where he was, I guess, straining too hard. He passed out and hit his head on the sink, and his head had a bandage on it. And so, but they want to keep him in for to run some tests to make sure that it's nothing serious. And so they're going to keep him overnight. And so her and her mom, they are sitting out in the waiting room, and they're just having coffee and talking. And she said, well, your mom finally, told her about why she went to Vancouver. She was like, when I was about your age, I spent a year in Vancouver, and I'd worked in this Indian restaurant. And I dated most of the guys that worked there, and I was actually briefly engaged to one of the guys for 3 weeks. And she was like, what? She was like, yeah, and then I met your dad, and da-da-da. And she said, when you have children and you get married, it's like you give your life over to other people, and you kind of forget about yourself. And I just, wanted to care about myself for a change. And it was just going back, to something that was familiar. But obviously when she got back to Vancouver, that restaurant wasn't there anymore. It was like a dry cleaners or something. I don't know. And so she, and that's when, she felt like Annie felt like that was the right time, because her and her mom were just having a heart-to-heart conversation, and she told her about the abortion. And her mom was like, I'm so proud of you that you made that decision. And, it was, and Annie was like, yeah, it was just the best decision. and I don't regret it. It was something that I had to do, and and while they were talking, she got a text from her Annie's father, and he's back in his room. And she said, I'm just going to, and the mom said, I'm just going to stay here tonight. And Annie initially wanted to stay, but the mom was like, no, there's nothing you can do. If there's any issues, I'll call you. Just go home. It's fine. And so, again, another touching moment, especially since, their relationship throughout this whole series has been contentious. But the last couple of times that we've seen them together, they seem to be in a different place, a happier place. So Ryan is talking to Kevin. Kevin is the other guy that drives the Weekly Thorn truck. And he blamed Kevin. He's like, you should have never told anybody, And so they went back for a little bit. He was like, you're the reason that Bo got fired. Bo was the other guy that drove with him. He was like, dude, I was hired after he was let go. What are you talking about? And so he was like, I just want her to talk to me, because he's been trying to contact Annie, but she's not taking his call, because she was saying she needed time. Just give her time. And he won't give her time. And so they are loading the latest publication of the Weekly Thorn, and he sees the cover, and you see his eyes light up like, oh my God. So like we're left to kind of wonder, like, what does he see? Okay, so we're at Fran's party. So it's Fran and her girlfriends and Annie, and they're having a little to do in the backyard. It's like maybe 7 or 8 people. They have the blankets out. They're just having food, drinks. They had some fireworks. They were just having a really good time. And you see Annie, Fran, and Emily, and they're kind of just sitting around. They're just talking again. It was just a really relaxed environment. And so Fran stood up, she gave a speech, and she basically said that, how fortunate she was, and how she's happy with her life, and how fortunate she was to have the people in her life. And so she kind of thanked all her friends, for being the family, that she needed, and the friends that she needed. And how lucky she felt. And so they had a little tete-a-tete, and the next thing you know, they look over it, and it's like, oh God. So Ryan shows up again. She's already told him that she needs time, but he shows up, with a copy of the publication. And that's when we realize that Annie's on the front cover. And so she's like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm on the front cover. But then she says, but I told you that this is about me and the girls tonight. I just really just need time, and I just want I asked you to give me time. And he was like, but I really just want to talk, because it's all about him. He's like a fucking child, just needy. It's all it's always all about him. Well, we should be able to do this. I want to do this. I feel like this. Okay, so he decided he wants to talk to her, and that's what he wants, regardless of what she wants. And so she said, okay, you know what, fine. So they walk off, and that's when Emily and Fran, they're talking, and Emily, finally tells her that, I really like you. Like, finally tells Fran that she has feelings for her. And Fran was like, well, and you're just now telling me this now. And she was like, well, when was a good time to tell you? When you were on this, I'm not dating anymore kick, or I'm taking a break from dating, or, when was a great time? And Fran had to admit that, oh, okay, well, yeah, you're right. And so she kind of stood there for a minute, and Emily was like, did I just fuck it up? I think I just fucked it up. And so they kind of laughed, and it was fine. And so Ryan is saying that he was sorry, and that he didn't mean for things to be the way they were, and he didn't know that he couldn't tell about the instant that they had. His thing was, I didn't know that we couldn't tell that we weren't having sex. She was like, I don't care about about us having sex. I shouldn't have to tell you not to tell people that about our sex life. I shouldn't have to tell you that's private. And he was like, well, just tell me what you want me to do, and I'll do it. And she was like, no, I shouldn't have to talk to you like I'm your mom. I'm not your mother, and I don't want to fuck my son. These are things that I should not have to tell you. These are things at your age you should know. And so they're going back and forth. And so next you see Annie, you see Fran and Emily, they having their little situation. They loving each other down in between the houses. I'm like, okay, so they take the conversation off further away, and he's like, well, he said, why are you is why are you embarrassed? What he said, he made a reference to the back fence, and she was like, yeah, the back fence. You were so embarrassed of me that you made me go out the back door and climb over a damn fence because you were embarrassed to tell people that we were seeing each other. And he said, well, you were embarrassed of me at Gabe's party. And he, you know, just a child. I said, okay. So Andy basically said, you know what? I realized that being with you, I think I've been with you because it's easy, because I'm too afraid to put myself out there. And, you know, this idea that these men won't be interested in me because of my weight. And it's just been easier to be with you instead of taking risk. And he's like, what are you trying to say? She said, are we breaking up? And she was like, yeah, we are. And he said, she said, are you serious? You want to see other people? And that's when the fireworks start going off and they're just having a good time. The other women having you know, and she just looked over at them and they were kind of dancing around the fire and having a good time. And she looked back at him and was like, I'm just ready to move on to this next chapter in my life. And I just don't want to do this with you anymore. Like, okay. So I was happy that she finally let that go. It's like, why it took her so long? I mean, I can't, you know, it takes people a while to get out of bad situations all the time, so it's not uncommon. But girl, so I hope that is in fact the end of Ryan, because Ryan is just he's just too everything, too ridiculous, too incompetent, too stupid, too immature. He's just too much. He's too much. So that's how this season finale, season 2 ended. So I haven't checked to see if they're going to come back with a 3rd season, but okay, we're going to see what the future holds for Annie and Fran. So I will talk to you guys in the next video.